Today, we welcome Mechelle Wingle, a radiant voice for emotional wellness and spiritual wholeness. As the founder of the Wholeness Network, Mechelle blends ancient wisdom with modern healing to help others reconnect to their full, authentic selves. But what is wholeness really? Is it something we find, remember, or create? So let's dive deep into what it means to return to our natural state of being whole, worthy, and enough. Mechelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
Warmly welcome. It's my pleasure to have you here. So, Michelle, wholeness is such a profound word, and I'm really eager to know that how do you define it, not just as a concept, but as a lived experience?
Mm. Yeah, well, we came across this word wholeness, and at the time that we built the Wholeness Network, it wasn't being used very much here, at least in the States. And we found it to become almost, we hear it all the time, but I think it's an encompassment of all that who we are. So if you were to Google wholeness, you would see kind of two definitions that show up. One is the state of forming, which gives the implication that it is happening, that it is continuing and present. And then of course it's complete um and whole. So it's kind of this interesting paradox of two opposites where you are complete and you're forming at the same time. And we really like that definition because I think um it helps us feel and experience a little bit it of who we are a little easier, because we all know that we have flaws and we have things that we would like to work on, and we are whole in that at the same time. That is the purpose of our time here, is to gain experience, is to learn and grow and evolve. And sometimes it happens in both when we move forward, and sometimes when you could say move back, or maybe we make a mistake, or we have a problem. We've still gained really vital knowledge there. And so when we think about what it feels like to be whole, or to have wholeness, it's a recognition of both of those two things. And to me, at least, I find it very peaceful because I can accept that I am worthy and good, where I am and who I am, and that's innate in me, that I was born with that. That's not something that I'm trying to get to, a point that I'm trying to get to. But at the same time, I'm in order for me to be learning and to grow, there's going to be things that, I haven't acquired quite yet, it feels like, or that I haven't achieved yet, or, and that's the process. So it's these two really interesting, polarized kind of ideas that really encompass our experience here on the earth. And I think it does take some some bravery to step into this idea of wholeness and to believe and to accept that we are whole, and that our wholeness is our part of our human experience, that it's okay for us to be on this growth journey and claim our wholeness.
That's, Michelle, such a beautiful and grounded way to describe wholeness, and I really appreciate how you have made it so tangible and real, like not just an abstract idea, but something that touches every part of life. It really resonates.
Mm. Yeah, and the Wholeness Network, we focus mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And we have all these parts of us. And so sometimes our mental body is at work. Maybe we're having really good attitude and really good thoughts. Or maybe we're not. Maybe we're having, maybe a day showing up that's difficult. And that mental body needs some food. And that mental body, our brain, maybe we do some mental exercises. Maybe we calm ourselves for a little bit. Maybe there's even times that we kind of sit back and just check out for a bit, being careful with that. But that each of those bodies needs the food. Our mental body is those thoughts. Our emotional body is those emotions, how our feelings, and our physical body is how we experience those two things. A lot of times, the thoughts that we have and then the emotions that go along with those thoughts show up in our body as a sensation. And so many of us have cut off connection with our body because we we were not taught or not told that our feelings or our thoughts were valid. So one of the easiest ways to show up in a quote correct way that our caretakers or those around us would accept is to shut down our body so we don't receive those messages. And then because when we do that, then it's really hard to become whole because we're not
Mm-hmm.
feeling and knowing ourselves and what's going on really inside. And then we have that spiritual body, which is this place that we can tap into. It's the opposite of physical. So it's if we're having an experience that is, you know, filling our heart with joy or love or gratitude, that is a spiritual type experience. It's not something that we can physically touch or see or feel. And when we get all of those parts, those bodies, mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual, in sync, then that's when we find that wholeness. That's when we feel the most at home and the most optimal that we can.
That completely makes sense, Michelle. So, like you work with both ancient wisdom and modern models, right? So, can you share that how do those two worlds, meet in your approach to healing?
Yeah, so, in the wholeness library, so we have a wholeness library, so we call it kinda like Netflix for wellness, so there's hundreds and hundreds of videos that you can and different channels. We got I think it was 40, 50 channels that have plenty of videos on for different aspects. So we do have a
Mm-hmm.
channel just for mental body, emotional body, spiritual body, and physical body, but there's all sorts of things, meditations, there's follow-on techniques like a tapping video you can follow along. And so we we need these tools to bring us back to remind us when we feel kind of out of balance. And so when we all have days. Like that's another thing we all need to recognize. We all have days that are ups and that are downs. That's part of that's part of the human experience as well. And there's a lot of distress and discomfort in trying to have it be any other way. So when we are in a distressful time, then we can reach out to, someone and we move towards healing. So the way that we kind of combine the two is we've got some of our videos, we've got a self Reiki practice, a self Reiki is something that's, it's not too old, but it's an older practice. We have the chakra systems. We have a whole channel on the chakras. Those are ancient wisdoms that I have found to be profound that have shaped and helped me in my life tremendously when I learned about the chakra system. Um, it made everything make sense. And so what we can do is we can learn the chakra system and then we can bring in these practices. So we might say, okay, we because we understand that the heart chakra, carries with it love and that it holds the energy of compassion. And let's say that we're feeling some grief, then we're going to do maybe we're going to bring in some of these modern techniques like a tapping video or a meditation that you just sometimes you just watch along a video and it's infused with the energies and visuals of the heart chakra
Mm-hmm.
and it brings the heart chakra into balance. So we're using these modern tools of video specifically and audio in some cases um, to mesh the two and to be able to share them in this way that you can just pick up your phone. We have a free app, so there's a free app with lots of content that is free. We do have a membership program for all the videos, but there's a lot of free content on the app. And so you can just carry it with you or it's online and you just pull up the library and there's the resource for you. So that's something that's very, very modern um, in practicing all of these ancient techniques.
Mm. It's like so powerful, to hear that how ancient wisdom, can still inform and enrich the modern healing journey. And the way, Michelle, you preach them, It felt like both intentional and deeply authentic at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in my other life, I say when I was just raising young kids and busy doing that thing, I was just busy doing my thing. And then of
Mhm.
course what happens is a disruption comes in your life and you start to have more and more of those days that are difficult. And I looked for answers and I found such amazing help in the ancient practices. And it really changed me. It really changed me between the Eastern medicine and the uh, um, um, the American Native traditions. I just found a lot of healing there.
Mhm. So, like in everyday life, what are the subtle ways we, fall out of wholeness? So, what signs should we look for?
Okay, so that's a great question. We're going to look for anything that we have a discomfort about. So here's some examples. Um, Sometime maybe you're going to wake up. We have this saying that we said you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, which means you woke
Mhm.
up and things are just not going well for you. So if things are not going well, then something in our system, something in our energetic system, something in our mind, our thoughts, maybe a trauma from a past experience, is emotionally showing up for us in what's called an emotional flashback. Maybe those are showing up. So the awareness, bringing it from the subconscious that, usually we kind of just go throughout our day kind of, fumbling. And really, I wonder if we were to pause in that moment and really, really dissect. I think at the bottom of that is probably some some ideas that what's happening right in the present is supposed to be different. And it's not to say that it is to be happening, but it's to stop and have some compassion for yourself and hopefully reach out to a practitioner, someone that can help you walk through it. But in that time that's difficult, um, we just keep pushing forward instead of saying something's not okay and caring for ourselves and saying, what do I need right now? And listening and trusting. And the very first few times you do it, it's gonna feel like you're gonna really notice some thoughts come up like, "Well, I should just be fine. What's wrong with me?" Things like that. It's more of these kinds of things. I'm learning about. And I have taken some classes and some certifications on what's on IFS, which is called Internal Family Systems. It's parts work, and in parts work, we have parts of us that show up and they're always protecting us from something, but at the same time sometimes that protection is at the expense of what's happening in the situation. So sometimes, if we're having a bad day and we kind of get upset with someone else, that
Mhm.
might be a protector saying, hey, we're thinking we're on the defense or something, something's coming up for us and it's trying to protect us from something. So we can talk to these parts and just say, what do you need? And a lot of times what's interesting in IFS is when we ask, how do you feel toward this part that's maybe upset right now? And a lot of times it's like, I don't like it. I want it to go away. And that's kind of a magical moment because we say, that part that wants it to go away. We understand that that part that doesn't like it is also another part. That once we're in this true self, in that place of wholeness, that we can see all of what's happening through compassion, through courage, through creativity, through. It's not about being just nothing bothers us. We just have access to ways to creatively move forward or to shift it or to have compassion about it or to care for it and get some clarity about it. That's what we're looking for because once we have that, once we can bring it up into the consciousness of what's going on and acknowledge it and have that self compassion for ourselves, then things start to unfold and we feel better very kind of very quickly. And so by understanding, I'm having a hard day today. That's all you need to know. Like today I'm having a hard day. What can I do to support myself? And if there's if you haven't gotten enough rest, then that's something that we can think, okay, I might need might need to take a nap today. I might need to find time to go to bed earlier or something like that to give myself the support that I need. But if it's like, oh, I've got this anxiety going and how can I help calm it down? You know, grab the Wholeness Library and watch a video and just notice from the beginning of the video to the end how you feel differently and see if that supports you.
That's such an important reminder, actually, Michelle. It's so easy to overlook those small moments when we like disconnect from ourselves. But I really love how you've made this subtle signs feel so clear and relatable. It's like gentle invitations to return to wholeness rather than like harsh judgments.
Yeah. There's always need for compassion. I believe we are always doing the best that we can. Now, and I always say my best might not be your best in any given moment, but I'm always doing my best. And I think if we could give each other that kind of grace and understand that we are all these souls, bumping into each other and having this human experience, and yet we can give each other the compassion because we all know how it feels inside to have every single emotions or maybe states of being are there across all cultures. We all experience them the same. Our facial expressions match, different emotions. It's not like our language speaks differently when it comes to emotion. We all express them similarly, so there's a bridge there for some compassion. You know how it feels to have grief or sorrow or anger, and they're all human emotions. None of them are bad. We bring them in to us rather than try to keep them away.
Absolutely, that completely makes sense, Michelle. So, like, I'm really curious to know that how do you personally, recenter when you are feeling like fragmented or disconnected?
hmm So I have my little toolbox, so maybe I will throw on um, a, a meditation. I really enjoy meditations, especially a guided meditation. And something that we kind of created with the Wholeness Network that I'm really kind of proud of is we have what are called visual meditations, because there's so many people that say, I can't meditate. I don't want to meditate. It's too hard. It's too difficult. But I feel like we kind of put a big high expectation on meditation. But if you can sit and watch a video for 5 to 7 minutes, and quietly just watch what's happening, calm your nervous system, get your heartbeat to calm down, that's meditation. That's meditation. So meditation is always something that I go to. I also, you know, I have, spiritual guides and helpers that cross the veil that I turn to. I have journals and journals of journals, and I am blessed that I can write in my journal a question, or sometimes it's simply, what message do you have for me, or please help me. And I'm able to receive a message that is helpful for me. I'm very grateful I have that. I think everybody can do it. It's a practice. Like I say, the first probably year that I was doing it, I wondered, I wondered what was going on. I wondered if I was making it up. It was always there, but with that practice comes profound support. I also have. I love my oracle cards. I'll pull out some of my oracle cards and shuffle the deck and receive some inspiration there. And I've got crystals I use or essential oils, anything that I can use to to shift my awareness, my consciousness. And sometimes those things, just because that little message makes sense, um, that I receive, whether it's through an oracle card or if I pick an oil, I'll look through its emotional qualities, properties that it has, and it will fit. And somehow I feel seen and heard. And I think that's the root of a lot of our discomfort in the world, is that we desire to be seen and heard, and we deserve to be. And so when we can have those moments when we are supported, when that video or that meditation works, it feels very validating and gives us enough wholeness, or enough feeling of being whole to move on to the next step. And then we do it again, and then we do it again.
It's so like grounding to hear that how you approach those moments with such presence and care, and I'm sure that's gonna surely help all our listeners out there.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I hope. I send my healing love and energy to anyone listening because, um, we're so quick to kick ourselves or to push ourselves or to, find motivation, to move beyond the moment. But actually, if we sit in the moment for a second and feel it, one thing about emotions or, these states of emotions or feeling things that are we're feeling, they move by definition. Emotions move and change and grow. We don't stay in an emotion all the time. Things will shift, things will change, and so if we can kind of trust that a little bit, and seek the tools to help it shift, then that's all we need. But yeah, there's a lot of ideas about how to, and sometimes we can, sometimes the things I just trust what comes to your intuition is what's for you. If you ask, what do I need? I just trust the answer there, no matter what it is.
That's really remarkable. So, like, what's one short practice, to anyone, anywhere that begins to restore a sense of wholeness in daily life? Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, I actually created a card deck that has all the chakras and a little exercise to do with them. But one of the things you can do to really support your chakra system is if you sit kind of down, or maybe it'd be great outside, but if you can just sit quietly and very comfortably, as comfortably as you can. In fact, I just sit there, relax, and say, feel any tension and just kind of let your body release that for a few minutes. And then if you just use your breath and begin to imagine that there's an energy, pulling up from the middle of the earth, going up, and the chakra, as it hits your tailbone, it'll go through your sacral chakra up into your solar plexus, into your heart, into your throat, into your third eye, and up through your crown. And you just imagine that flow moving upwards and upwards, cleansing from the earth. And after a few breaths of that, you can add a second stream of energy that comes down from your crown chakra, down into your third eye, down into your throat, down into your heart, down into your solar plexus, into your sacral chakra, and down through your root into the earth. So you begin to have almost this infinity sign with you in the middle of energies moving up and down your chakra system, clearing it and filling it with love and compassion, clearing it and filling it with love and compassion. And just a few minutes of that kind of breath kind of hits on all of the chakras. And it's just a simple little technique that you can use wherever you're at and whatever you're doing.
I completely love the reminder, Michelle. So, listeners, wholeness isn't perfection, it's presence. And Michelle Wingle reminds us that we are not broken, we are becoming. So, breathe, soften, and return to the truth of who you are, already enough, already whole. Thanks for tuning into Healing Horizons with Saima. Until next time, choose presence over perfection.